Oh boy, what a great day of me just chilling around and enjoying my day. Let's see if there's any funny memes on Instagram Reels today, am I right? Alright. Oh, that's a good one, nice, alright. Ah, yeah, that's funny too. Nickelodeon is disrespecting Stephen Hillenburg. Wow guys, look at me on vacation. This is the life, just landed and now I get to wait for my ride to pick me up so I can start vacation. Got nothing better to do in the meantime, so I'll just hop on Instagram Reels while I wait. POV, you're Nickelodeon and you're disrespecting Stephen Hillenburg legacy. Hey guys, let's just do everything he didn't want to do. Wow, I feel so motivated today to work on a new video. Why am I moving around like this? Now comes to the part of thinking of an idea. But what do I do? What do I do? Wait a minute. A creator I like to watch made a community post. I wonder what it's about.
Nickelodeon,
Let's go with the new SpongeBob. And very we like very good. Disrespecting. I do like misinformation. It's out there. On November 26, 2018, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, Stephen Hillenburg, had unfortunately passed away due to ALS. Since his passing, millions of fans have still fondly looked back and appreciate what him and his team did to put together SpongeBob and make an impact on their childhood. I mean, to this day, me and my family still quote lines from the series, and I even have the Goofy Goober Rock on my gym playlist. Since his passing, SpongeBob is now in its 16th season, have had 2 spin-off shows and 4 movies, the 4th one set to be released later this year and the 5th one to be announced soon. During this as well, there have been misinformation in regards to what Nickelodeon has been doing with the show. In a few months from now, it will mark his 7-year anniversary since his passing, and somehow we're still having this conversation and it confuses me to no end. Negativity draws a lot of eyes, but blatant lying about something that has been debunked multiple times and even doing it with gross negligence is something else in my opinion. I don't want to act like I didn't believe this before because I used to believe this type of misinformation until I saw a video or me and my friends talked about it and I just looked it up for myself. But again, as time goes on and more SpongeBob content is being set out and released, this conversation of Nickelodeon spitting on Stephen Hillenburg's legacy continues and it needs to stop. Only more recently did I see someone misuse a video thumbnail of a creator that I watch trying to dispel this misinformation is what drove me to make a video about it. So what many people point out is Nickelodeon Frame 1 did after Stephen Hillenburg's passing are that he didn't want any spin-offs and he didn't want to do any more movies. Stephen wanting to have the show end after season 3 and the first movie, Stephen being anti-fast food, and Stephen not wanting to make a jump to CGI animation. Afterwards, I also want to point out the moments of people spreading that misinformation with talking about the most recent one at the end too. So diving into the first point, I actually want to start off with this one being that he wanted the show to end after season 3 and the first movie. That part is true with Stephen wanting it to end after 3 seasons of a movie because he didn't want SpongeBob to jump the shark as he thought 3 seasons and the movie was enough for the series. He was also quoted saying, "It reached to a point where I felt I've contributed a lot and said what I wanted to say." Stephen did depart after the movie because of how draining it was to work on it for him. But it's not like he left the show, told Nickelodeon not to make any more, and then as soon as he left, they just started working on season 4. Not at all. During this time of the movie's release, SpongeBob was at the highest popularity it would ever be at, and Nick wanted to continue it. So Stephen left and appointed a trusted friend of his, Paul Tibbitt, to now be the showrunner, which he was for seasons 4 through 9. There's more to the quote as well, as after that, Stephen goes on to say, "At that point, the show needed new blood, and so I selected Paul to produce. I totally trusted him. I always enjoyed the way he captured the SpongeBob character's sense of humor, and as a writer, you have to move on. I'm developing new projects." Tibbitt even announced in 2014 that Stephen Hillenburg was going to come back to the show and be an executive producer on some of the episodes before his passing. So in conclusion, yes, Stephen thought the show should have ended at season 3 in the movie, but was okay with Nick continuing SpongeBob and even had a trusted friend replace him as showrunner to keep SpongeBob going. This part also leads into the point people love to bring up is that he didn't want any spin-offs or any more movies to be released. 4 words, He never said that. Stephen Hillenburg never said that he didn't want any spin-off shows for SpongeBob. Going to the interview article from the Television Business International, the interviewer asked Stephen if he sees any spin-offs happening in the future. Stephen then replies to the interviewer saying the show is about SpongeBob. He's the core element and it's about how he relates to the other characters. Patrick by himself might be a bit too much, so I don't see any spin-offs.
If you or a loved one knows someone that has not seen this image yet, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
I don't see any spin-offs versus I don't want to or would never do any spin-offs are two separate meanings. Stephen says Patrick by himself might be a bit too much. Not that Patrick should not get a spin-off show. I can't really say well enough if the Patrick show is good or bad. Only that from what I have seen from other reviews that don't mention this misinformation is that it's okay at best, but those moments where they change up the art style is pretty neat. This is the part where I go back to what I mentioned earlier of Stephen coming back to the show to work on some of the episodes. Not only did he do that, but he also was the executive producer and showrunner for Sponge Out of Water and was the executive producer for Sponge on the Run before his passing. Back to the shows, let's talk about the other and first one they had being Camp Koral. On June 4th, 2019, it was announced that a CGI animated SpongeBob spin-off called Camp Koral was greenlit, and to say people were upset is an understatement. Some of these reasons ranging from it hasn't even been a full year yet since Stephen has passed away, the show seeming to retcon some established moments like with the first meeting of Sandy being the most pointed out, and the Paul Tibbitt tweet a day later voicing his frustration about the spin-off. But there are some things here that are needed to be taken into account as well. Although being a trusted friend of Stephen Hillenburg, Paul Tibbitt hasn't worked on the show since season 9, which happened back in 2012. Tibbitt would then give the role of showrunner officially to Vincent Waller in 2015. Tibbitt was also originally working on the Sponge on the Run movie as an executive producer and story writer, but that too later on went to Waller as well, and anything that Tibbitt provided for the movie was eventually scrapped from what I could find. So Waller working on this movie means that he was able to work with Stephen Hillenburg before his passing, which gives a lot of more credit to his limited amount of tweets on Camp Koral. And if you remember from the movie, there was a scene of the main cast at the camp and already retconning those same things and acting as what would be a pilot to Camp Koral. It's not like they worked on the first half of the movie, then Stephen Hillenburg passed away before they get on to the second half, which would have the camp flashback, and decided, hey, let's put in all this stuff that can do retconning in a possible spin-off series down the line. It's just not how movies work. So with all that being said, Stephen did know about Camp Koral. He just wasn't around to be there when it got greenlit and then later on released. And also I want to repeat what a Cartouche said here about Paul Tibbitt's tweets. Paul Tibbitt here is not the villain. Nobody is here in this situation. Tibbitt was close friends with Stephen, and there's no proof, no reasonable doubt to make it out as if he was spreading lies out of bad faith. It's just when looking at Tibbitt's versus Waller's credit for this whole situation, people tend to look at Waller as the more credible source. And with the announcement of Camp Koral being greenlit about 7 months after his passing, it really is just what it is. A coincidence it happened at this time. The third point I have here is very short and sweet, as in my opinion, there's not much to discuss here. And that's that Stephen was against the idea of going from classic 2D style to CGI 3D. When it came to me doing my research for this, I don't know where this idea came from of him being against the animation, where he just stated like, dude, yeah. Maybe it got sparked off due to just how Camp Koral looks versus how it did in Sponge on the Run. But if that's the case, one's a movie budget, one's a show budget, different budgets. What I was able to find was a CBR article that has Tom Kenny talking about how he, the cast members, and Stephen himself felt about the jump for Sponge Out of Water. In that article, Tom Kenny goes on to say, Hillenburg and we were a little unsure about the CGI thing too. SpongeBob is such a detrimentally 2D classic animated looking show. They were able to find a way to take that CGI and lend it the same squashy, stretchy, kinetic, the craziness of 2D classic animation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They were unsure about the jump going to CGI animation until they actually saw it and were more comfortable about it. But there is a bigger picture when it comes to this and Stephen's past stance on spin-offs and even the retcons, and that's that People change their mind, and especially when it comes to just certain things and even their own creations. Stephen didn't see any spin-offs, though it seems like he changed his mind and knew about Camp Koral. And even here as well, if he was against going from the classic 2D style to CGI animation, he changed his mind because he saw it and was like, okay, let's do it for Sponge Out of Water. The final point to go over is Stephen Hillenburg's stance being anti-fast food, which is also the most recent uproar since the time I'm recording this for Nick and SpongeBob. Back in October 2024, to celebrate the 25th year anniversary of SpongeBob, Nickelodeon partnered up with Wendy's to do a collab to release a meal with the Krabby Patty. Some people were actually able to find an interview he did with the New York Times back in 2004.
You're not getting my money.
With his stance on having SpongeBob promos with fast food restaurants. But honestly, the only thing I see that's wrong here, or Nick being op number one, is that the burger was dog water. I brought it home for lunch, took 3 bites out of it, spat out the 3rd bite because it was ass, and threw it away. The pineapple frosty too was like really tiny. I felt like I finished that in about like 5 minutes or so and just felt like a fat ass the rest of the drive home. The thing is though, is that SpongeBob has done fast food promotions before, way before Stephen Hillenburg's passing. The earliest being in 2001 with Burger King releasing a line of 7 figures, but as the years went on, there were other instances as well. For example, you had Jollibee in 2006, KFC in 2004, McDonald's in 2012 at the Summer Olympics, Sonic in 2014, and oh hey, Wendy's in 2002. All of these restaurants have done promotions with SpongeBob more than once, but all they've done are toys, and it seems like Stephen was more referring to the food itself. But even if that's what he meant, it's not a great argument from him, as no matter which way you go about doing it, whether that you doing a toy tie-in or a food tie-in, at the end of the day, you're still promoting fast food. Maybe this is a good example for, let's go to the Minecraft movie. You're not going to go to McDonald's just to get the Grimace egg, you're going there to get the Grimace egg and try the little spicy Minecraft sauce they had as well. I got the whole shebang. I did a video about it too. You should check it out. If I'm a kid around the time McDonald's was promoting Shrek the Third, you bet I wanted that Shrek toy so I can cradle it in my arms as I enjoy my Happy Meal, and I got Pinocchio again. Are you kidding? One final note I want to mention about the fast food part is that also in October 2024, they also partnered with this donut chain called Pink Donuts, where they released a Krabby Patty donut, and no one said anything about it. Now, while a donut isn't the same thing as a burger, I feel like you could still make the argument that the donut is still fast food, as at least both aren't healthy options for kids either way. Maybe let me know what you think about this part in the comments, as honestly it's totally fine if you disagree with me here. But that's all the points people tend to go to when they talk about Nickelodeon and its handling of SpongeBob since Stephen Hillenburg's passing. This is the part of the video where I now talk about just the continuation of this from other creators, spilling this misinformation and just how people have been reacting towards it. Some creators have spread this in either short mentions or full-on dedicated videos about recent SpongeBob that has mostly been either to complain about the spin-offs and the newer seasons, or even just drive up unnecessary hate towards the company. And this isn't me trying to defend Nickelodeon and make them come off as some messiah or martyr at all. Nickelodeon is not a good company, and they've done some messed up stuff, to put it lightly, and you can even look to the Quiet on Set documentary for more an egregious example. But when it comes to this situation, the disproved statements have gotten majority of the fandom irritated that they speak for a man that cannot speak for themselves anymore, and that they're disrespecting his legacy needs to be called out. The most common example you'll see someone mention is with spilling the milk. When the Sponge on the Run movie dropped, they watched and reacted to it, and when they came to the part of them doing it in memory of Stephen Hillenburg at the end of the movie, they had this to say.
Don't put his fucking— you do not put his fucking name on this movie! You evil! You shit on his grave!
Of course, as we all know about now, Stephen worked on the movie and knew about Camp Koral, yet they chose to keep this in the final upload, which people were quick to point out and call them out on it. If you go to that video now, that part has since been cut out and was left how you can view it now. Another creator almost a year ago at this point, known as Ask Air, made a critique video about modern reboots not being as good as the originals. This video seems to mostly stem from the Fairly Odd Parents A New Wish reboot, as that was new around the time, but at least twice in that video he did bring up the argument of Stephen not wanting to do any reboots, brought up the Paul Tibbet tweet, and then later on showing a picture of Stephen Hillenburg saying how he hates that creator's work is being disrespected here. Again, not true, and very disrespectful to just use this misinformation to help your point when it's not not true and has been debunked. But not only that, when you could view the video, you could just see the video was just downright fucking racist. It was bad. It was so bad. His argument he had for A New Wish is that Hazel is a race swap of Timmy Turner, which means that you either didn't watch the show or two, didn't understand the differences between the two characters. And then just for some reason just shows this clip of Family Guy race swapped. Don't know why. It honestly doesn't help your argument, but just makes you come off even more racist. This guy got obliterated from both YouTube and Twitter, and if you go to his channel now to look for the video, it's no longer there. There's no community post talking about it. I don't even know if there's a Twitter post of him mentioning this or even apologizing, but I kind of doubt it as well. But if you did want to see someone at least talk about it, there's a whole playlist you can find of 25 videos talking about this dude, just dunking on him. This third video I want to point out that I'm not even going to mention the channel's name. I'm just going to mention the title, being Dead SpongeBob Creators Wishes Ignored. In that video, he's talking about the Krabby Patty meal, goes on about the anti-fast food, yada yada. You get it! But the part that bothers me the most about this is honestly the title of the video, being Dead SpongeBob Creator. Just reading that comes off very distasteful towards the creator you're talking about here, being Stephen Hillenburg. Honestly, you could have done a better job by just replacing the word dead with either late, his name, or just not making the video. Those are at least the three main videos that people point out to as the signs of misinformation. I know there's a fourth one out there too that I didn't mention, but honestly, you could do something better with your time than watch that video. But now I want to talk about the two videos I actually saw when I was going on Instagram, like from this one creator. In the video he talks about like the Krabby Patty meal again and all like the misinformation. But the point that stands out to me is that when he says, oh, Stephen didn't want to do any spin-offs, he shows this text. And whenever you go on Google, that's the Google AI overview text. You're using AI? Honestly, your whole argument is now invalidated. You're using AI, and that changes as time goes on. I remember vividly seeing this video and looking up, did Stephen Hillenburg want spin-offs? And it said that text. But when you look it up nowadays, when you look it up today, I got this text. It changes because it's AI. You don't use AI for your fucking argument. And the more recent one, the one that I mentioned that happened to me on vacation, is just this guy spewing out misinformation. He's literally just talking about, oh, he didn't want 3D animation, he didn't want spin-offs, parting with fast food, which if you're shifting to the partnering itself, that's easier to debunk now. It was really nice to see majority of the comments just calling him out, but I think the funniest part about this is this guy commenting at least on 20 of his reels saying the same comment in 3 of the ones he has pinned. I was laughing at that shit for a while. And now we get on to the more recent one that has drawn attention, being from this YouTube short where I also mentioned as certain points of referencing, you know, like frame 1 or op number 1. 2 months ago, a YouTuber I watched known as Cartoon She made a video to dispel the misinformation surrounding Stephen Hillenburg and to stop using his name in bad faith for your own arguments. Fast forward to more recently, you have this YouTube short popping up titled Nickelodeon is Evil and Cringe, where he talks about the Tiny Chef show cancellation, YouTube versus Viacom situation, and then also at the end talks about the Quiet on Set documentation. But after he mentions Tiny Chef and Viacom, he then goes about again the misinformation of Stephen Hillenburg, saying he wants no more SpongeBob, no more spin-offs, which for the last time has been debunked. Honestly, if you're making this argument still in the year of our Lord 2025, put the fries in the bag. I'm not going to act like I'm well informed on the Viacom stuff because I'm not, and I've never seen the Tiny Chef show. But why did I have to watch this little guy cry hearing the news that his show got canceled? Which for some reason you didn't talk about, which could have made up a good time with that 17 seconds you spent talking about Stephen Hillenburg and misusing Cartoon She's thumbnail as well. The creator still could have made a goofy little short still titling it Nickelodeon is Evil and Cringe and just dedicate it to the Tiny Chef show, talking about its cancellation, this little guy crying and being an emotional wreck for like a week, and talking about how I won an Emmy as well and how people are going to help and raise money for it. But you didn't, because you probably just looked up that you saw the Tiny Chef got canceled and that it won an Emmy, and then that was it. And then you just find like the Viacom stuff and, oh, I need more time, let's talk about Stephen Hillenburg, right? Since people are now more informed on this discussion, he was quickly called out, which he made a pinned comment response on the short, which just makes him him look even worse and more like he doesn't know what he's talking about. But look, there's more to that comment. I wonder what he has to say. I apologize for the misinformation, and I even double checked while editing with Google's AI. Oh my god, again? Why do creators think that AI is a credible source for information? I don't get it. I swear to God, if someone just uses AI or ChatGPT for this type of discussion again, my hair's gonna go straight. Last thing I have to say is that it comes to the part where I think in this terms for using Cartucci's thumbnail is more of just gross negligence on this creator's part. So as I mentioned, this creator used Cartucci's thumbnail in his video. If you look up Stephen Hillenburg on YouTube, you find his video and it shows the title of the video as well, Stop Using Stephen Hillenburg. If you look up on Google Chrome, Nickelodeon Disrespecting Stephen Hillenburg, you can find the thumbnail, but it takes you to Cartucci's thumbnail and also shows the video below it and this text as well. What I'm trying to say is what this creator might have done, allegedly, just gotta say that just in case, is that this channel saw the video, ignored the title, didn't watch the video either, copied the text, pasted it into a YouTube thumbnail grabber, downloaded the thumbnail, and put it on his video, knowing full damn well that's not what it was supposed to be for. That's just a theory,
a film theory,
and what he might have done, but still, whatever way you could spin it, it is still him having gross negligence. And that's just some examples of moments of creators with followings spreading this misinformation. And honestly, as long as SpongeBob continues and it keeps making like an instance of like a bad episode, bad promotion, or just another movie, this is still going to continue. And whenever moments like this happens, it's just too late. Whatever someone makes a video about it, except for that Ask Air guy, these creators have made their money off of it. They seem to not care, and it just comes to people that actually are well informed on it to debunk their claims and tell them that, hey, you're spreading misinformation. You don't know what you're talking about. Mostly these creators do it because they don't like the current state of SpongeBob whenever they have that one bad episode trend or so. So it's just easy to point at SpongeBob and just say, wow, look at what Nickelodeon is doing to this. Look at what they're doing to defile Stephen Hillenburg's legacy. When in actuality, that's not the case at all. You can even make the argument that none of these people really care about him and haven't even seen recent SpongeBob either. They only care about the easy engagement and money they can make off of this, and unfortunately it works. And one more final time I want to say this unfortunately, probably, hopefully not though, will keep going on until SpongeBob ends and there's no longer new SpongeBob content coming out. Last thing I want to mention though is that I highly recommend checking out these two videos if you haven't already. I highly recommend checking out Cartucci's video of him discussing the misinformation. I also recommend checking out Ellis Mark's video as he talks about other pieces of info I didn't hear, like with how Stephen was feeling during SpongeBob's peak. Both of these videos will be linked in the description below. And with that, that's also going to be the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys did like today's video. Let me know your guys' thoughts about this whole situation and discussion still continuing in the comments below. Also subscribe, as that'll put a smile on my face. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to work on my SpongeBob acapella while also trying to confront my op number one. But yeah. Okay, bye.